everybody. Calling this meeting to order. Welcome everybody and our folks in the gallery for coming. We have a little bit of moving around. Brent McKenzie is not going to be available immediately. He's in session right now. So we're going to go ahead and get going with the city. Can you announce our first go around?
All right, Mr. Mayor, members of council, at this time, Chief Newdigate, Police Chief, will come and give a presentation updating City Council on the year-end crime statistics for 2023, and also to answer any questions that you all may have about the police department.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Thank you for this opportunity to come in and talk about the great work that the men and women of the Virginia Beach Police Department showed over the last year with the assistance of this council and our community. And I think the numbers will speak for themselves, and you will realize that there's been a tremendous amount of effort to keep Virginia Beach the safe city that we know it is. So as we talk about crime statistics, we're going to talk about Part 1 crime. This is known to all of you that Part 1 crime consists of both violent and property. So when we look at total Part 1 crime, very, very small percentage of crime in the city of Virginia Beach is what we would classify as violent, one of those four categories. 93.6% property crime. And what I would offer is that's really what affects and impacts our community members the most, is the 93.6% of property crime. And I think we've taken some great steps over the past year to really address that. So talking about total Part 1 crime, combination of both property and violent was down 6.4% last year in the city of Virginia Beach. And what I would like to draw to your attention as you look at the PowerPoint, the bottom in the light blue is the violent crime. So even though we were up slightly with 18 additional reported offenses, we were still down from the 3-year average of 554. So definitely stable over time. So we talk about property crime. Property crime is really what is driving the overall reductions. Specifically, when we look at the 7% reduction, it is driven by theft from autos, people stealing out of the cars of our community, which we know is a grave concern. We see it on social media, we see their concerns, and we've really tried to address it. So if you will notice, the 2,100 offenses that we reported last year, that is the best in the last 5 years, and we're very proud of the efforts that went into obtaining that number. Commercial burglaries, flat and stable over time. Residential burglaries, we're still seeing decreases. Motor vehicle thefts, people stealing cars from our community members, down 24% last year, best in 4. One that I think we've all probably been impacted by this at some time, that we come out in the morning and someone has went through our vehicle and stolen items, maybe even broke the window. Those were down 35% last year. And how did we get there? Number of factors, but it's really the great work of the men and women of our organization, led by the leadership team, and a little remiss that I did not introduce them when I started. With me, I have Deputy Chief Sean Adams, our Operations Division Commander, Deputy Chief Shannon Wichendall from Investigations, Deputy Chief Jeff Volkerson, who runs the admin shop, and of course our Chief Communications Officer, Jody Saunders, and with me is my Executive Aide, Captain Brad Wessler. So how we got here is under their leadership, we've really employed a data-driven hotspot strategy. So if you look at the number of dots, and at the very bottom, it will tell you that there are 17,385 that when our crime analyst identified emerging and existing hotspot clusters, we have employed a very robust and aggressive hotspot strategy, asking our officers to go to these locations, spend 15 minutes highly visible, and then we expect to see a diffusion of benefits from occurring in those locations. So by putting it in simplistic terms, putting cops on dots, it's an empirical strategy. It works. And we think that by asking our officers to go to those locations, driven by data and community complaints, being highly visible, it's driven down the numbers of both theft from autos and motor vehicle thefts. Where we didn't see any results and is really driving our numbers are all those other thefts. And those are up significantly. And what I'm going to show you is the struggle that we have as an organization is that we have 10 locations in the city of Virginia Beach. And just those 10 locations are driving almost 20% of those other thefts. Now, what I will tell you is some of these establishments are working with us to try to identify problem-solving strategies and SEPTED initiatives to reduce these numbers. There are some that are just unwilling to change their management practices. So sometimes this is out of the control of the police department. And what I will tell you is for these locations, just sheer arrest is not going to drive these numbers down. It's going to have to be a proactive partnership with all these locations. And I know that the media is here, this is going to go out. So this is not a negative indication of all of these places, because like I said, some are definitely working with us. Some, we wish we could a little more cooperation. Okay, violent crime. Like I said, we are stable over time with an additional 18 offenses compared to the preceding year, but it is the second lowest in the last 5 years. And I think that's something for us all to be proud of. Aggravated assaults did rise slightly, but still down significantly from where we were in 2020 and 2021. Rapes are up slightly. We did put a marker at the bottom that I'd like to draw your attention to in the gray. Those are the offenses that were reported to us where the suspect was completely unknown to the victim. So unfortunately, with many of these, there is a known component between the suspect and the victim. A large percentage of these are family members, relatives that are being reported as having illegal sexual contact with other family members. So I would offer that even though we see an increase in the numbers, as a police department, we're not overly alarmed because we want that reporting to come to us so that we can investigate and hold people accountable where need be. Robberies down 22%. And talk about where we were with shootings last year. Unfortunately, we did see an increase. We were really on a really good trajectory for the last couple of years. And then we've increased last year to 90 total victims. Couple of challenging things that I bring to your attention, that when you look at the 12-month rolling timeline, we had some anomalies that are not historical to the city of Virginia Beach. In March, September, November, we saw increases above the previous year, above the 3-year average that were not historical to the beach, that caused us to really assess where we were, redeploy resources, and try to find out what was occurring. So one of the things that that we can attribute the increase to is we're seeing many more victims per incident, unfortunately. We had one incident with 4 victims, 2 with 3, and 11 incidents where we had 2 shooting victims. And that's definitely an increase from what we have seen in years past. Another area of concern, and I think it's very fair to educate the council, and I'm sorry, we'll go to this first. I've included the precinct spatial clusters just for your edification. And that is definitely something that we look for as we address our shooting. We're looking for the spatial clustering to see if we can impact an area. So one of the challenges is there are a lot of guns out there. I think I saw some data that I just read that last year in the United States, 15 million new firearms were purchased. I don't know how many of those were in the Commonwealth, but we know that those firearms don't stop at boundaries. And I think it really speaks to what we ask our young men and women out there answering the call every day, making those 911 calls for service. Almost everyone that they come in contact with has a firearm, some legally, some illegally possessed, but they are doing an outstanding job. Actually, they're doing a fantastic job of taking illegally possessed firearms out of our community. And I think those numbers are very telling. Something that we're also seeing now that is incredibly concerning is automatic gunfire. And probably without the technology, the shot spotter that this council so graciously funded a few years back, we would not know that this was occurring. I think our data is still about, 80% seen of shot spotter activations do not have a corresponding 911 call. So think about that. We have gunfire in our communities, and 78 to 80% of the time, our community does not pick up the phone to call us and notify us. And so what we captured here, unfortunately, we would not know it without ShotSpotter, but this is not infrequent anymore, unfortunately. This is becoming way too frequent that we are hearing and capturing automatic gunfire in our community. And this is how easy it is. This is a Glock handgun that we recovered that has been converted to full auto. The little activator or actuator on the back, they print them with a 3D printer. They pop off the back, they pop that on, and now they have an illegal, fully automatic pistol. And this is what our men and women are confronting out on the streets. And it used to be we would get a couple a year, but now it seems like it's popping up very routinely. And we talk about magazine capacity. Traditional magazine, for those that know anything about firearms, 17 rounds. It seems like everyone that we encounter with one of these has either a 30-round extended mag, sometimes they have a 50 or 100-round drum magazine. Imagine the danger that puts our community and our officers in when this is what they're facing out on the street. So I've included shooting victim demographics for your review. If there's any questions, please let me know. I know there's usually questions about how many are juvenile related and what that breakdown looks like. So we're going to go into homicides, and the homicides are in the light blue of the total amount of shootings. So we did have one additional homicide last year compared to years prior. This is the spatial breakdown of where those homicides have occurred in our 4 precincts. Second precinct, just for knowledge, all 4 of those were non-gun related. 3 involved knives and 1 involved a cinder block. Third precinct homicides and 4th precinct homicides. Homicide clearance rate, national average, 52%. Your homicide detectives, and it really is, it's not just our detectives, because it starts with our initial patrol response, securing the scene, obtaining witnesses, supervisory oversight, and then we call in Deputy Chief Witchendall's folks, and they do an absolutely fantastic job of bringing closure and justice to our family members. Right now, we stand at 83% for last year's homicides, well above the 52%. And I just bring this back up that, with the challenges that law enforcement has faced over the last few years, that number for positive closures was 64% in 2019. So it has dropped pretty significantly over the last few years. The regional comparison, we look at this every year, and we are at the right of the scale at 24, but we know that this is not an apples-to-apples comparison with our partners in the Hampton Roads region. So we take a look at it per 100,000 residents, which takes us to 5.3 homicides per 100,000, just slightly above where Chesapeake ended up last year. But I think what's more telling is not comparing against our partners in Hampton Roads, but really that national comparison of other cities between 400 and 600,000 residents to see how we're doing. And we will start with, unfortunately, Atlanta with 135 homicides, Oakland, 126, and then we start going down, Raleigh, 29, and then 24 in the Beach. And we stay right at that 5.3 per 100,000. Included the demographics, if there were any questions.
Any questions at all at this point?
One thing I would like to talk about is motive. I think last time when I presented, what was really driving a lot of our offenses, and still is in many regards to overall shootings, was the drug trade. But what we saw last year was an increase in domestic-related homicides. These homicides occurred inside residences or other locations. That doesn't mean that we didn't try to find out if there was a way that we could have impacted them. We actually dissect every shooting, every homicide, every aggravated assault in our version of our stat meeting every 2 weeks. So we look hard to see if we had previous runs to these locations. Was there an opportunity for us to impact and attempt to maybe mitigate and prevent a domestic violence-related homicide? But for most of these, there was no indication that the police had any knowledge or previous involvement. I think one of the things that we're seeing too is a lot of negligent firearms handling, introducing firearms into the hands of folks that probably don't have the training or knowledge, and recklessly handling those firearms, and they discharged and killed loved ones unintentionally, but still a homicide. And that's almost half of ours right there. Suspect demographics for your review. And then I really wanted to close it up and talk about traffic, because I know that we see a lot of concerns from our community, a lot of complaints with reckless driving, speeding, red light violations. And I've talked to a lot of you, and I think you also hear it from your constituents about where we are with traffic enforcement and what that looks like in the city of Virginia Beach. And I think from council's concerns and the community's concerns, we've heard you loud and clear. So we've really, Deputy Chief Adams and his team have really concentrated hard to try to address some of these traffic concerns. So traffic stops over the last 2 years, actually up 20%. From those traffic stops, speeding citations, which I think is one of the number one complaints that we all hear about, aggressive, reckless speeding, up 30% from 2022. We asked our officers to really refocus their efforts out there on those speeding violations that are impacting our citizens. And I think they did a great job answering that bell, and we owe them a big debt of gratitude for their efforts. And I think out of those increased traffic stops, out of those increased speeding-related citations, I think there is some correlation that we have seen a 15% decrease in the number of total traffic crashes in the beach. Now, the one area where it did not change anything, we're still relatively stable over time, but even with all that enhanced visibility, traffic enforcement, we still had 31 fatal crashes last year. But I did kind of want to put that in perspective. that when we look at the regional comparison, that we did lead with 31, but when we factor in the population, it puts us right in the middle at 6.8 per 100,000. And then, of course, we have to take a look at that national comparison just to really see where we are. And Atlanta, 68, and then we are on the far end with 31. And that does not change, 6.8. So that is a brief snapshot of where we are in terms of crime and traffic conditions for 2023. I really have to give all the credit to the officers that are out there that have really bought into our data-driven, evidence-based strategies, and they are having remarkable results out on the streets of our city to make sure that it's safe from a crime and a traffic perspective. And love to entertain any questions.
Okay, any questions at all? Okay, Hutch, and then Jennifer, and then Sabrina.
Gate.
Councilman, how are you?
You could say sir at the end of that. Anyway, no, seriously, I wanted, something dawned on me.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for playing along.
Yes, sir.
Right here at the end, when you talk about the fatal crashes by year, it just hit me is, do we know, and I don't know if the other two chiefs, Stroud or Privates, could help with this, is when we talk about the accidents, fatalities, does that necessarily mean the driver of the car, or could be the passengers in another car? You know what I'm saying? Like, it could be victims. You were talking about high speed. It made me think about some of our crashes that I've been on and different things. Is like, could that be part of this number? I don't know. It might be interesting to see. I'm looking over at your folks because I know they'll be the ones doing it. But I don't know. Is that even a question that y'all might know?
It's any occupant in the vehicle. Does not have to be the driver. And we would consider.
But I was more asking the second, because a lot of times these crashes aren't like, it's intersections, right? And stuff like that, the T-bones and stuff that. Could it be the victims of another car?
Oh, it could be, absolutely.
That's what I was wondering is what that number, because that could be a big variable here.
Absolutely. The causative vehicle many times is not the one that suffers the fatal injury.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at.
Yes.
Anyway, just curious.
And when you look at these numbers, and I think it's fair to point out that we do try to discern out those that were true medical emergencies. Someone suffered a heart attack and ran into a tree. That is different than someone that's engaging in reckless or egregious conduct in a vehicle, causes a crash, and then we have a fatality.
Right, that's what I was wondering too.
As you know, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, Jennifer, then Sabrina.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two questions. Hi.
Good to see you, ma'am.
Good
Yes,
to
ma'am.
see you here. Thank you for the presentation. So in 2022, did y'all do an initiative with orange tickets on a car?
We did.
So will you explain a little bit about that initiative and whether or not that factored into the success, or at least the reduction in theft that you saw here?
Absolutely. We initiated a strategy that had some empirical research of putting orange stickers on vehicles. And I know there was some concern from the community that those orange stickers might identify vehicles and lend to them being broken into. But what we'll do is we'll go to a hotspot area and we'll do these orange vehicle report cards. And we'll put you passed or failed, and we leave them on every vehicle. So not just certain vehicles are singled out. And we do think that that strategy, and I know Captain McBride has employed it very successfully in the second to knock down some of his. I think it's definitely something that we had kind of forgotten about with the directed patrol hotspot strategy, but it's still a tool in our toolbox. And recently we've had discussions about trying to bring that back and actually implement that as part of our waves process.
Thank you. And second, I don't really know if it's a question. It's just where my brain is at this point, looking at the data on gun violence and looking at the map and where the shootings are happening and where they are not happening, and what are the common denominators. And I don't know that it's a question so much for you to answer, but something I'd like for us to consider as we go into the budget. You think about strategies and
Yes.
How we can use our budget to make investments in these areas that are seeing higher incidence of gun violence, and how much of that is related to social class, how much of that is related to a lack of economic opportunity, housing instability, food insecurity, all these things that perhaps through our investments, we can be more proactive in reducing gun violence, because there is a pattern here. And I know that the police are doing what they can, and I think our investments can help y'all in trying to workforce development, expanding summer youth employment. I know that is out now. So looking for opportunities to get to provide pathways for these families and for these individuals to do something else. So I just wanted us to keep that in mind as we go into the budget. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman.
And before we get this, Sabrina, if I could address Jennifer, when we roll out the Hope pipeline at the end of the month, which you're involved with, I think a lot of the actions in terms of families, affordability, workforce development, everything are going to be part and parcel to what we're going to be striving for.
Thank you.
Okay, Sabrina.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Newdigate, for your presentation. Thank you to your team and the men and women who are out here tirelessly every day addressing crime in the city of Virginia Beach. My question speaks to human trafficking. Last month, we certainly brought awareness to human trafficking in the month of January. And we know that data matters. Data is very important when we talk about human trafficking, the source, and so on. And so my question is about human trafficking data. I'd like to have access or to see that data and to, well, first, do we have any data for 2023?
Absolutely. I do have that data handy. We assisted with 33 potential victims in 2023. Deputy Chief Wichendall's team conducted 12 full human trafficking investigations, 64 search warrants, resulting in 9 subjects charged. And I think it's very hard to compare the data year over year. And I do understand what you're looking for, but a lot of these come out of proactive work in other areas where we identify these victims of human trafficking. And unfortunately, many times it's when we're being proactive in other areas that we do make arrests, and then we identify them as a human trafficking victim, and then we turn that investigation on its head to try to work back that source. So a lot of it comes back to how proactive we are. It's not like we are getting reported data from victims like we do with a lot of the other crimes, unfortunately.
Appreciate that information. And I commend your team for being proactive and working in that area. Can you send me that information, the data? Could you send that information
Yes, ma'am.
to me, please?
I will.
Thank you.
Hey, Michael, and then Amelia.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Chief, to you and to all of your colleagues in the police department for your efforts and to make sure that we continue to live in a safe city. I really have 2 areas of questioning of interest, really. And the first one is death by suicide. And you and I spoke just a few minutes ago before your presentation about this. And I learned something from you that I think would be interesting for the public to know. But in all these reporting statistics that we see, the death by suicide is not captured there. And you explained to me that's because it's not a crime.
Correct.
I wonder, though, if you could just extrapolate a little bit about some of the things that, of course, we're all made even more aware of this as a result of the tragic events that occurred at the oceanfront recently. But we know from just being members of the community who are connected to our neighbors and friends and family members that death by suicide appears to be on the rise, and that it's a very serious concern within our community. And yet, it's difficult to get reporting statistics on it. And we have long acknowledged that we have a lack of critical resources needed for mental health services within the city. So I wonder, A, if you could just explain a little bit about what the difference is and why it's not captured, and also where it could be captured, and how the public could get a better understanding of exactly the depth and breadth of this challenge.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, suicide is not uncommon in the city of Virginia Beach. We know the incident with the 14th Street Pier, since it's so public-facing, has really brought it to light. But we recovered that vehicle on Friday, and between now and Friday, I'm aware of at least 3 gun-related, self-inflicted suicides that is out there that normally wouldn't be out there for public dissemination, because our involvement as a police department is to respond to these incidents, process the scene, gather the information, relay that information to the medical examiner to help them make a determination on the cause of death. And then our involvement pretty much ends at that. And I think, and we will check, but I'm thinking probably the Virginia Department of Health may be the one that would have complete suicide data. But we can look into it and maybe bring that information forward. But we are not capturing it for public dissemination because it is not a crime.
Thank you, Chief. And I've seen a lot of sort of discussion and heard a lot of discussion within the community about an interest in accessing not the names and specific information, but just the statistics so that we can understand the gravity of this challenge that we're experiencing in Virginia Beach and I think really across the country. So as a body, that's one thing I'd be very interested in exploring is where are those numbers stored? How do we access them? And how do we work with the related agencies to hopefully address these concerns and bring that number down? So I think this should be one of our top priorities as we move forward.
Yes, sir.
We know from our neighbors, and we just heard from the chief, it's a very serious problem. The second question I have is about traffic calming. The numbers that you showed about fatalities and reckless driving and all the auto-related things are very interesting. What I hear a lot from my neighbors in District 3 is that there are 3 roads in particular that are of concern from them: Lord Dunmore,
Yes,
Edwin Drive, as well as Timberlake. And one of the challenges related to traffic calming in these neighborhoods is that you've been understaffed for a long time, and so your resources are appropriately necessarily directed to more serious crimes, the types that you mentioned before. But now that you're closer to closing that gap, one of the key elements to addressing traffic calming is enforcement. And I wonder if you could just speak to what that looks like in the neighborhood streets and what we call cut-through streets. I think every member around this table can affirm that we hear about it from our civic leagues and from folks in the neighborhood about how serious of a nuisance this is and public safety issue.
Councilman, I mean, we are doing better, and with the support of this council and the raises and the support that you've provided over the year, we are closing that gap, but we're still 53 officers short of our complement today. So while the gap is closed from 100, we are running into a period right now where folks are retiring. It's not that they're leaving because they're dissatisfied with the profession. It's not that they're leaving because they're dissatisfied with the city of Virginia Beach or the support that you all provide them. It's just, I'm sure the good councilman can speak to his years in the fire department, is that we're reaching one of those cycles where we had large recruit classes and they're retiring, and we can never replace them as, you can never hire them as quick as we would like. I knew for the traffic calming, one of the things that we do is try to supplement that with grant funding so that we could get those officers out there. So I'll go back, confer with the team. So we do know it's a priority for the council. Those locations that you've mentioned, it's not the first time that I've heard them. So we'll go back and we'll talk about strategies and what that looks like to try to address those.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Amelia, and then Jennifer, Barbara, and Joe.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I had one area as I've looked at this to do with the mental health, what's going on, to address a little bit more about that, and to do with the suicide. We have a large military base in this area in Hampton Roads, and we constantly hear suicide and military. Have you all thought of working with them just to see how that interact? Because a lot of these people from the military retire or get off and become part of our community.
And that is always on our radar, is to interact with our military partners. And I know that we do funnel that information so that they have the resources from, it's usually the Navy to provide them. I think we have done a very good job with our CIT program of partnering our officers with those mental health providers to go out in the community and try to bring those resources. The big struggle that we have, and it's not just Virginia Beach, it is the Commonwealth, is the lack of resources for a warm handoff. And I know that you have all heard this before, but our data shows, Deputy Chief Adams, correct me, I think CIT calls account for 1.6% of all calls for service, but they end up accounting for 11% of our dedicated time. So we spend an inordinate amount of time on all of those because we don't have a warm handoff process, that we cannot just show up at Centera or Beach Psych and that they take these folks off of our hands, evaluate them. Many times our officers are forced to sit in the pods, forced to drive hours at a time to cities that may have a bed available, only to find out that once they get there, there's no space at the inn. So we are doing what we can, but I would tell you that the structure around it is flawed, and I can tell you it's flawed because it worked a lot differently when I was in Ohio. We had a very warm handoff process that I could take someone that was struggling with mental health or illness, take them to university psych emergency services, and usually within 45 minutes of walking in the door, there was a warm handoff. There was no talk about beds, space, transport. So the system can work. It's just that we don't have it in the Commonwealth. And if we want to make, if we want to advance in that regard, then we as residents of the Commonwealth are going to have to push our legislators to help us get there.
I want to say one little good news. One of my students who's gone through the rank, Sergeant Gervin, taught him. And to hear that on Friday, he's going to be promoted to captain.
Yes, ma'am, council member.
Proud mother.
I think that is great news, and hopefully you can all join us in your council chambers Friday morning. We will be promoting a captain, a lieutenant, and a sergeant, and Lieutenant Gervin will be promoted to captain. So it is great news for the organization.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we got Jennifer, Barbara, and then Josh.
Actually, Councilmember Berlucci's line of questioning reminded me. So emails that I've gotten, and you probably too, and I think a lot of us have received between District 10 and District 3, we have Holland Road and we have Independence, and there are long stretches of road.
Yes.
And, I hear about noise complaints. So not only speeding down Independence and or Holland or wherever else, but also exhausts and revving engines. And so can you tell us and tell the public what is the, policy or practice, and in what way, if any, can you enforce when residents are trying to sleep and they hear people, revving their engines or meeting up and racing? What can they do?
And we understand it, and we do get that concern. The problem is lack of data. So it's, when we deploy, we have a lot of crash data. We have calls for service data, and really we need the community to call it in so that we have data, because it's very hard if you call in and say, what's happening during the night and I'm sleeping and it's waking me up, I can't put an officer there for 8 hours overnight because there are calls for service pending. We will use data to deploy, but it does make it very hard, and we do struggle to address those specific concerns because there is not a wealth of data. And it seems counterintuitive, but you have to call 911 or at least 311 and report it so that we can pool the data to try to get a baseline of where we should deploy our folks.
Okay, Barbara, and then Josh.
Two of these areas, and I wonder if they're connected, or anyway, they seem bothersome. The increased automatic gunfire and the multi-victim incidents.
Yes,
Is one related to the other? I mean, is the automatic gunfire responsible for the multi-victim more often, or?
It is very hard for us to tell. My gut would tell me that there is some bleed over because we get to many of these incidents and we will find 30, 40, 50 shell casings at a time. So imagine that scenario, that we have that many rounds being fired in our communities. A lot of these, and I know I'm but I do need some assistance. A lot of these are drug-related offenses. The vast majority of the shooting offenses and homicides that we've had of late are once again marijuana-related. And I know that we're in a very unclear time of where we're going with that one. All I can say is from a police department perspective, it's driving our violence.
Well, it would seem to me if somebody is using the gun that's going to be more automatic and
Yes.
more rapid fire, they've got some intent to do something.
Yes, ma'am. I would say that is an accurate
So we might
assessment.
want to concentrate if there's some way we can do that, or if there's something that we can do in the budget to assist anything, if that's the time we would need to know.
Council member, and I know you would, I don't know that there's anything from a budgetary perspective when they can print a piece of plastic
Right, that's scary.
from a 3D printer. These were coming, they were being shipped from China. That's what ATF was telling us, that China would manufacture these, they would ship them here, but now ATF will do presentations where they will come in and they will set up a 3D printer while they're giving a presentation. And at the end of that 30 or 45 minutes, they will produce a fully functioning Glock auto sear that they can put on the back of that gun and fire in full auto. So from a law enforcement perspective, we are working diligently when we recover these with our ATF partners to try to get substantial federal penalties, but they're quite prolific.
Always a new wrinkle, isn't it?
And council member, that's why I bring it up, because I think the council and the community need to understand the new challenges that our men and women are facing, and it seems to change daily.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Newdigate, thank you to you and your team, especially everybody on the 3rd Precinct who I have the pleasure of regularly interacting with, incredibly responsive, professional, and they do a wonderful job for us. You do. 2 questions for you. One on the vehicle crashes, the fatalities. Included in that number are the pedestrian fatalities and injuries included in that number? And are they? And I guess specifically, are pedestrian, bicyclist injuries and fatalities tracked separately?
They are included in that number, in that 31. I can break them out and provide you that information. What I will tell you is we are seeing a slight increase, but usually the causative individual in most of those is the pedestrian. And I think from a law enforcement perspective, we are a little bit challenged because we can no longer enforce those jaywalking violations and those types of violations that contribute to them disregarding traffic control signals or stepping out in front of vehicles. So still an educational perspective, but we've been hampered by the lack of an enforcement perspective on those, and we are seeing a slight increase. Yes, sir.
And thank you. Just as a follow-up, I'd be interested to see maybe if you're able to provide the data where some of these pedestrian and cyclist fatalities are occurring, to see if there are certain problem areas that we need to be aware of. And then separately, and I think you answered part of this question when Councilwoman Henley asked hers, but if there was anything that we as a council or the community can do to assist your efforts to recover these illegal firearms in our community.
No, I think this council has been very gracious in providing what we need. We were very, very close to standing up our real-time crime center, which I know that I have spoken about, and we are incredibly excited about what that is going to bring to the Virginia Beach Police Department and the city of Virginia Beach. We are just waiting on the actual furniture, but the software that allows all of that to come together, that we can monitor our camera system, our Genetec cameras, our license plate readers, our gunshot detection, our calls for service. We can see where our officers are through the body-worn cameras, to have our intelligence analysts, to have that all in front of them so that they can really help guide and drive our decisions and deployment. This council has been very gracious in investing, and we are on the cusp of really becoming a technology-driven police department.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Barbara, and then Sabrina.
You just touched on it. I was going to ask you how the new building's working at it.
Council member, it is a wonderful improvement, and we are anxiously awaiting the end of the month when we will have everybody under one roof, and we will be able to bring our Detective Bureau, First Precinct, property and evidence and supply folks, and that will be one big team again in a new headquarters. But it I think has been well embraced and by our staff, and we're very pleased that council invested in that building to give us a new home.
Sabrina.
You mentioned technology, and it makes me think about AI and how there are a lot of organizations integrating AI to address problems and issues. And we know that criminals are using high-tech technology to, create destruction. I'm pretty sure you all have talked about it, but can AI help with some of these issues, some of the crime, maybe be more proactive? Is there software that can be integrated? Any thoughts on that matter?
In regards to AI, council member, I think we're being very cautious because we are, there's privacy concerns. I'm not sure that any of us really understand where AI is going to go and how that we're going to be able to employ it in a proactive, productive capacity. So we are keeping our eye on it to see if there is an opportunity and what that means for law enforcement. But we want to be very judicious about employing the technology. AI, we talk about facial recognition. That's part of AI. And with that comes concerns about how all that is deployed. So I think as a police department and as a community, we don't want to rush into anything. We want to do our due diligence about employing new technology to make sure that when we do, that it has the right parameters and constraints around it, and that that there's not opportunity for misuse. It is definitely something on our radar, but I think it is too soon to give me an educated guess or statement about what that's going to look like.
I appreciate that. That's fair. And I think, as always, as a city, we want to be proactive. I think oftentimes AI it's in concepts that are very new. We have a tendency to be really cautious, and that's understandable. And I think as time goes on with research and understanding that AI can bring benefits, not just negative issues, the more we understand, the more we're proactive, the more we do research, the more we can understand how it can benefit our community and address some of the issues that we're seeing. Thank you.
Council member, what I would offer is we have probably brought to fruition 30, 35 technology projects over the last 24 months. We do need to kind of take a pause to iron out the wrinkles, because with technology, there are always some issues. So, I've told Mr. Wallace, and I think he was happy to hear it, that we're not pushing for any major technological initiatives this year. We're really going to try to get our arms around everything that we have brought to the table over the last 2+ years, make sure that it is working for our folks. So when I come back in front of you, maybe this time next year, I'll have a much better idea on what that looks like and any asks that I will bring to the manager's attention for his consideration.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, anyone else? Chief, I just want to say, I think I speak on behalf of everyone, pretty much in Virginia Beach, if I can take that liberty, to say we are indeed a city of heroes. And, having the reputation of being the safest city, among the safest city, if not the number one within our population, takes a lot of effort by a lot of people. Takes a lot of dedication from yourself, your management team, every officer on the street, and the resources that we were able to give you over the years in terms of helping with recruitment and retention, and a tremendous expenditure in technology, to put us ahead of the curve in so many ways. So once again, thank you and kudos to all, and keep up the good work.
Mayor, members of council, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, at this time, our planning department will give a pending planning items update on the items that's going to come before you at your next council meetings for consideration. And after that, we'll have the voter registrar presentation to provide.
Okay, we'll just give it one more minute. Okay, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. I am here this afternoon to give you a brief on the planning items both for consideration this evening as well as the February 20th agenda. So there is one item for consideration at your formal hearing this evening. This is a request for a subdivision variance for property located at the northeast corner of Oceanfront Avenue and 86th Street. This item was previously deferred at your December 12th and January 2nd hearing. As you will recall, the applicant is requesting a subdivision variance since the proposed lot does not meet the minimum lot width requirements of 60 feet for corner lots. Since your January 2nd hearing, the applicant has continued to work with staff as well as the Civic League on an acceptable solution for access to the site. While the applicant has submitted a revised conceptual plan that does appear to be acceptable to staff, since that revision was submitted this week, they have requested a deferral to the March 5th hearing. Moving on to your February 20th agenda, there are a total of 10 items for consideration. Item 1 is a modification of conditions request for property located at 3282 Holland Road. More specifically, this is a request to amend a 1999 conditional use permit approval in order to add 22 self-service vacuum stations to the site and make slight modifications to the parking layout. There are a total of 11 canopy vacuum stations proposed along the interior of the site, and then 11 stations are proposed along Holland Road, the latter of which will be mounted on 6-foot-tall poles to minimize the visual impact along Holland. The site does have adequate parking for the existing automobile repair garage, car shop, and service station that currently exist on the site. A row of evergreen shrubs is proposed to be installed along Holland Road to screen the vacuum stations from the right-of-way. The applicant has received approval from Dominion Energy for the proposed landscaping since it is proposed within an existing Dominion easement. Staff is unaware of any opposition to the request, and the Planning Commission did vote unanimously in favor of the item at their January hearing. Item 2 is a street closure request for an unimproved right-of-way adjacent to 2325 Virginia Beach Boulevard. The applicants are seeking to close a 30-foot wide right-of-way between Virginia Beach Boulevard and I-264 and incorporate that closed area into the adjoining properties. The majority of the closure area will be incorporated into property that currently contains a lawn care equipment business. This property is proposed to be redeveloped for a dealership for low-speed vehicles, primarily golf carts. The remainder of the closure area will be incorporated into property that currently is used for an automobile dealership. A viewers' meeting was held on October 20th, 2023 to consider the closure request. During this meeting, it was determined that the proposed closure would not result in any inconvenience, and therefore the group had no objections to the request. The Planning Commission also did vote unanimously in favor of the item on their consent agenda. Items 3 and 4 include a modification of proffers and a CUP for a bulk storage yard for property located at 2625 Horse Pasture Road. This site is located within the Taylor Farm Commerce Park, which was rezoned to conditional I-1 in 2002 and further amended in 2004. The applicant is seeking to modify the proffers specific to this parcel to allow vehicle storage and outdoor storage to be located between the building and Dam Neck Road. Furthermore, the applicant is seeking a CUP for bulk storage yard in order to operate a tow lot at the site. This property is located within the greater than 75 decibel noise zone and the APZ1, and both uses are compatible. The development includes a 300 square foot office building, the design for which does conform to the design requirements from the 2002 proffers. The proposed storage area will be screened by an 8-foot privacy fence with Category 6 landscaping. The bulk storage yard is also proposed to be set back approximately 160 feet from Dam Neck Road, and there is an existing BMP between the site and the roadway. Additionally, there is also an existing 50-foot wide landscape buffer running parallel to Dam Neck Road that will further screen the site. Staff has not received any opposition to the request, and the Planning Commission did vote unanimously to recommend approval. Item 5 is a subdivision variance request for property off of Dolly Road in the southern part of the city. More specifically, this is a subdivision variance request to allow the property owner to reconfigure 4 existing lots that were improperly created by deed between 1955 and 1974 into a total of 3 lots. All 4 existing lots are substandard with regards to the dimensional requirements for property zoned AG2. Specifically for lot area, lot width, street line frontage, and the side and rear setbacks. While the 3 proposed lots will remain substandard in dimensional requirements, they are more conforming than what exists today and more similar to the other lots along this portion of Dolly Road. The applicant currently resides on Lot A, which is proposed Lot 3, and intends to sell the other 2 parcels to be developed with single-family dwellings. Staff has not received any opposition to the request, and again, the Planning Commission was supportive of the application. Item 6 is a street closure request to close a portion of North Lynn Haven Road, just south of Virginia Beach Boulevard. You may recall this site did come before you at the end of 2023 in order to be redeveloped with a new checkered flag Porsche dealership. Now the applicant is requesting to close and incorporate approximately 200 square foot portion of North Lynn Haven Road into the adjacent commercial property to the east. This portion of North Lynn Haven has historically been used for parking within the right-of-way, so this closure request will address this issue and safety concerns along this portion of North Lynn Haven. A viewers meeting was held on November 17th, 2023 to consider the request. During that meeting, it was deemed acceptable. However, the viewers did determine that there was an existing Dominion Energy pole that should remain within the right-of-way after the closure, so the closure request was modified to what is shown in the hatched area on the screen. If the closure is approved, there is an existing stormwater pipe and sidewalk that would need to be relocated into the new bounds of the right-of-way, and that will be done at the expense of the applicant. Public Works has also requested a drainage easement over the entire closed portion. Staff has not received any opposition to the request, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval on their consent agenda.
Yes.
Sure.
This one I was looking at, okay, go ahead. This one involves conditional use permit storage food trucks, is that right? Would you please address kind of that idea? This is the one I turned the page one too many when I asked you, I thought it was the other one, so I think you may cover it.
Okay. So yes, item 7 is a CUP for a bulk storage yard. This is at 405 South Witch Duck Road. The property is zoned B2 and lies within the historic Kempsville Overlay District. So the applicant is requesting to store up to 20 food trucks and trailers within the existing parking lot on the site. Based on our current ordinance, food trucks and trailers are not permitted to be stored in residential areas in the city. So the applicant is providing a space for operators to store their vehicles when not in use, specifically for food trucks that aren't associated with a standalone restaurant. The applicant also operates a commercial kitchen on site and provides a space for the food truck operators to complete food prep and then store perishable items. Due to existing site conditions, including the amount and location of existing pavement, The applicant is requesting several deviations from the typical screening requirements for bulk storage yard. More specifically, the applicant is requesting to only install a privacy fence along the rear property line and then a portion of the north property line, landscaping along South Witch Duck Road, and then a portion of the north property line. No additional screening along Home Center Lane, and then requesting to only screen the dumpster with a fence rather than a fence and landscaping. Staff has received 2 letters of opposition and 1 letter of support for the request. The opposition expressed concerns related to noise, aesthetics, and the repair of food trucks. With regard to that concern regarding the repairs, staff has conditioned that with the exception of light maintenance work such as bulb changes and cleaning of the food trucks, no repairs shall be conducted on the site. This application was heard by the Planning Commission in January, during which they did recommend approval. However, they made a slight modification to the proposed landscaping plan. So instead of having a fence along that north property line, they asked to reduce the length of the fence and instead extend the row of evergreen shrubs between this site and Patriots Park to the northeast. The application was also presented to the Historic Kempsville Citizens Advisory Committee, who did support the request with that modification made by Planning Commission.
This is sort of a new area then, it's the storage of food trucks. Is there a number that someone can have on a lot without needing to have a bulk storage yard? Or is it only if it's your restaurant, or how does it work?
So we don't have a set number. We do have an application in currently but it's not for the storage of food trucks. So typically you would have a food truck going to a location. We would require a conditional use permit for an open air market for that food truck to operate on that site. In that particular application, again, that will be coming forward to you, we have a condition about where that truck can be located on the site, and it would be stored there overnight, but we don't have a set number that would trigger the need for a bulk storage yard. That would be a determination made by the zoning administrator.
So what zoning categories are those, would storage be allowed in?
Anything where you can do bulk storage yards, so typically B2, I1, I2. Right now, food trucks and trailers can't be stored in any residential district. You'd be limited to those commercial districts.
Agricultural?
No.
Okay, Worth?
So what kind of business is the Lab Commercial Kitchen? Is that a restaurant or a food prep?
It's food prep and storage. So they it initially started as a food prep and storage place for food truck operators, and then they realized there was kind of a need for these vehicles who aren't associated with a restaurant to have a place to store them, since they cannot be parked in a residential district. So it kind of expanded from that initial use.
And that's compatible in the B2?
Mm-hmm. All right, item 8 is a request for a CUP for a tattoo parlor for permanent makeup for property located at 1673 Independence Boulevard, Suites A and B. The applicant intends to add permanent makeup services to their existing beauty salon within the Bayside Crossing Shopping Center. Hours of operation will coincide with the current business hours for the salon, which is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday through Saturday. They're not proposing any exterior changes to either the building or signage. Staff has not received any opposition to the request, and the Planning Commission did vote unanimously in favor on their consent agenda. Item 9 is a request to rezone 4549 Revere Drive from R7.5 to P1 Preservation District. This parcel was previously owned by the Salem Woods Civic Association. However, for financial reasons, they did dedicate it to the city. However, there was a condition that would require the property to be rezoned to P1. For the immediate future, the park will continue to be used as a passive space. Future improvements would be dependent on funding. Parks and Rec has kind of come up with some conceptual plans for improvement, but again, that would be based on funding in the future. We have not received any opposition to the request, and the Planning Commission did vote in favor of the application at their January hearing. And then item 10, this will look familiar to you. This is a CUP request for a residential kennel for property located at 5205 Shore Drive. This item was originally heard at your January 16th hearing, at which time the applicant requested a modification to the condition recommended by the Planning Commission That modified condition that Planning Commission recommended would have limited the dog or the number of dogs to 4 once one of the 5 existing dogs no longer resided at the property. So the ask from the applicant at your January 16th hearing was to allow a total of 5 dogs on the site without that requirement that if a dog was to no longer reside, she'd be limited to 4. So in order to allow more time for the public to provide comment on that modification, council did defer to the February 20th hearing. Since the deferral, the applicant has spoken with neighbors and received 22 signatures in support of the request. That is in addition to the 5 letters of support previously received. As a reminder, there was 1 speaker in opposition at the Planning Commission hearing who voiced concerns regarding noise and a decrease in property values associated with the use. The applicant has stated she will continue to engage with neighbors between now and the 20th to answer any questions and explain kind of what her proposal is. And Mayor, that concludes my briefing, and I'll stand by for any questions.
Any questions? Okay, thank you for
Thank
your
you.
usually great work. Thank you.
At this time, staff from my office and also the real estate agent from Public Works is going to give council an update on the voter registrar election space and also to seek your guidance as it relates to next steps in purchasing a possible property for a new voter registrar location.
Hey, thank you and welcome. A very important topic.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for allowing us to do this presentation. I do want to acknowledge colleagues who have worked on this project. It's been about a year. The manager always gives me the fun special projects. It's been about a year. So in addition to Tim, who will be speaking, our senior architect, Daryl, has played a significant role in getting us here today. Kevin Chatelier and budgets always in the background, making dreams possible. IT's been very helpful. Let's see, the city attorney's office, Ashley, Becky, they've been working with us quite a bit on this. And then we have our stakeholders, Clerk of Circuit Court, Tina Sinan is here. We have the Secretary of the Electoral Board, Laura Lee. Marvin, I haven't had the opportunity to meet you. Marvin is here, he's the vice chair. We have the voter registrar, Christine, here. Let's see, Pam is here too from the clerk's office. Thank you, she sat in those meetings. The auditor, whose work so often pushes us to see different possibilities and see where we can improve. The work that his office did in not an official audit, but a management review, I think that's what it was called, was really helpful. So with that, I'm going to jump right into our presentation. I'd like to start with the ask from the beginning. At the end of the presentation, we would like to get formal direction from you all in this public setting about whether or not we can continue to proceed on this specific property. We want to place it on the February 20th agenda for a formal vote for the funding. So the slideshow today is really going to be a recap of the timeline. Like I said, this is something that we've been actively working for a year. I know it's something that's been on the mind of the stakeholders for far longer than a year. So we'll recap some of the spaces they're using, some of the associated challenges with those spaces, and then we'll give a dive into the identified property. Tim will take over there, talk about potential funding sources and those next steps. So this is just some highlights because I don't want the public to think that this is our first time coming to you. In March is when the auditor's office released their management study that really third-party objective view that really said there's something going on here. There's opportunities to function in a better, more thoughtful way. In July, we got responses back from an RFI. We released an RFI in that winter, trying to test the market to see what would be available within the community that could meet the needs for the spaces. And then we went into closed session only because we were then talking about very specific properties. So November, December, and January, we had closed sessions with council to talk about potential real estate properties. So really want to pause on this slide because it's very important to note we're talking about important opportunities to improve But we want folks to know that we've done everything we could do to secure the spaces that are currently being used by the voter registrar and the clerk of court. So we've done some enhancements that I'll talk about on many of the slides. So don't want folks to be alarmed that we're not running an operation in which they can trust. We've definitely done our due diligence on making sure that the spaces that are being used are up to par. But the truth of the matter, it's becoming more and more challenging to meet their needs, our stakeholder needs. And we'll talk about some of the changes in state laws and the patterns of voting and how all of that impacts the spaces. So you've seen this slide before. Building 14 is really the headquarters for the voter registrar. It's the house on campus. It's where folks do early voting. And early voting has gone from being a 7-day process to 45 days before any election, early voting begins. And in November 2022, more than 19,000 people went through Building 14 to vote. These are just some pictures. These are where voters are lining up. You can see the narrow space of where the voter registrar set up the ballots for folks to do their voting, really using the space as best they can, but it's probably not adequate. Building 14 upstairs, which is really the agriculture department space, is where the electoral board holds their public meetings. For presidential elections, though, what we do is we turn this space into a call center because a call center is required for presidential elections. So we will retrofit this with phones. IT will go in there, and it becomes a makeshift call center. Building 23, this is the old schoolhouse across the street. Ordinarily, this is where our CDL trainings and other trainings that our human resources training team, safety team conducts those trainings. The interesting part about this is that CDL's training must take place adjacent to a certified CDL parking lot. So it's not as simple as, oh, we'll just go to another place to conduct CDL. No, the state has to certify where the training's taking place, and this is where the training takes place for us, unless the voter registrar is using it. What you will hear as a theme is when a voter registrar or TINA takes over a space, it becomes under their custody. And that goes back to that whole notion of protecting ballots, making sure that everything is secure. So this is used for mail-in voting. And as you can see from this chart, in 2022, more than 23,000 mail-in ballots were completed. Again, this starts 40 days before an election. So this isn't just a day of type operation. It really does take over the space for a significant length of time. So when they're in this space, we cannot conduct any trainings, including CDL. And CDL training are lots of our first frontline direct services to our residents. So that's our sanitation services and such. We have added cameras in this space because we've turned a section of this space into a vault so that the ballots can go in there. So we have added cameras and other security measures to secure it. Building 19 is another space that the voter registrar uses. The night of an election, they call it canvassing. Everybody returns the ballots that night, and then for the several days that follow, it's under the custody of the voter registrar and the clerk of court. This primarily is our new employee orientation room. It's probably one of our largest rooms on campus to conduct training that has technology. So we do lots of meetings in there, except for when it's under their custody. We have, once again, created a temporary vault in this building to help store things until Tina takes it to her official vault. Convention center, trainings for the poll workers. It's really important that they learn with the equipment because they are such a crucial part to Election Day. They really are the backbone to Election Day. So making sure that we have a space that can allow for them to have their trainings. The Convention Center has been accommodating this request. But again, it's another space that we need to use and take offline so that we can accommodate their needs. And then Central Drive. This is where all of the voting machines are held. It's a 10,000 square foot warehouse. very well organized, but packed to the rim. They've used the space quite nicely, but we've added precincts over the years, and they have neatly and strategically used pretty much every square foot of this space. But again, that's yet another location that they are using to conduct their functions, their efforts. I won't read this to you, but I do want to emphasize just probably the first two sentences from the city auditor's review. It says, the office size of the Office of Voter Registration and Elections is inadequate for efficient operations. The Voter Registration and Elections Office has experienced difficulties that could have been avoided if it had one large office. So wanted to look at our peers. You've seen this slide. Most of our other peers do have a consolidated space. Most of our peers are smaller operations than we are. Even Norfolk, we took a field trip to Norfolk. Their main space is larger than our building 14, really nicely renovated. So I don't want to say we're not winning when it comes to like having the nice space, but you can see our peers definitely have realized that it probably makes more sense to have this all in one central location. So what we did was we worked with a consultant, HBA, and they interviewed the voter registrar, her staff, the clerk of circuit court, to really understand what are the programmatic needs. What are the associated square footage? What are adjacencies, which is a cool word I've learned from Daryl, to really be thoughtful so that when we went to the market, we would have in mind what exactly we were looking for, where could we be flexible. So it wasn't just a random hunt for real estate. It was really a lot of intentionality that went into that. So we released an RFI to test the local market in January 2023. We got those responses back, and a lot of those responses were geared towards leasing a space. We shared that with you all. Kevin had some budget numbers that was over the summer, and it really showed that over time, leasing was just going to be probably not the most fiscally prudent thing to do for something that's a core government function. Daryl did take a stab at looking at what are on-campus options. None of those options would have given a one consolidated building unless we built from the ground up, which would have also come with a pretty significant price tag. So then we started looking for options that would be for sale, keeping these stakeholder desired variables in mind. As much of a consolidated space as possible on or near the municipal campus. And accessibility is obviously really important, so making sure that we were near a bus line. So Tim really did his magic, and he found a property that we really want to talk more about publicly. We've shared this with you in closed session, but really want to have the opportunity to brief the public on. So I'm going to turn it over to Tim for the next several slides, and I'll come up and talk about potential next steps.
Welcome.
Thank you, Monica. Mayor, members of council, Tim Copeland, Public Works Real Estate. You see before you the disclosures pertinent to the one building that we want to talk about today. So the site that we are bringing to you today is 500 Studio Drive. This is in Lakeview Corporate Park. It's at the intersection of Holland Road and South Independence Boulevard. Quick facts, it is owned by the Michaels Family LLC. It's Paul Michaels. Building contains approximately 65,700 square feet, 2 loading docks, approximately 200 parking spaces. It is at a signalized intersection. A couple of aerial views just to orient you. You can see that it's set back from the intersection behind an automobile dealership. It's on the shores of Lake Trashmore. And then interior shots that you've seen before, the conference room, the interior, the lobby. And you can see the finishes that are typical throughout The building was refreshed, I believe, in 2020. So it's been well taken care of. So as Monica said, this has been an ongoing process. HBA, as the city's architect on this project, met with the stakeholders, and these are the things that they said they needed, the needs assessment. So you can see it meets those considerations. It's got the parking, it's got the drive-up voting capability, it's got a backup generator, fire detectors, fire suppression. In this graphic, I apologize again, it's kind of small, but our IT GIS folks put this together just to give you an idea of what it is. On the left-hand side is the drive time analysis for building 14 for the voting age population. And you can see that within 15 minutes, there's about 50-some% of the voting age population is within that area of building 14. The proposed facility at 500 Studio Drive contains more than 80%. So it's accessible to a far greater percentage of the voting age population. The building at 500 Studio Drive is, it's got a pending purchase price of $14.25 million. This does include additional land, as shown here in yellow, approximately 3.28 acres. We submitted a letter of interest and a right of entry to allow us to start our due diligence back in December. We are also looking at additional $3 million in build out. That does include our IT cost. So as we walk through this process, we're now currently in the due diligence phase. We have been in the building. Our folks have been doing a building condition assessment. We're working on the survey, ordering the environmental assessment, working through the contract. We've been doing that since early January. And as Monica said up front, you know, the ask is next for us is to come to you all, if it's your will, for the ordinance to fund and acquire later this month. There are some restrictions that need to be amended. That process has already been started with the condo association. It didn't, the condo doesn't specifically allow public use for the use that we want. So that process has been started. We would then get all that in place, move to close, then do the build out. Then there's a whole separate set of steps which I know, but I'm not that intimately familiar with, but that involves the process of actually moving the precinct with the State Board of Elections, moving the registrar's office, but that would come after we close. And we are looking now at a post-2024 election.
Yes, that's perfect. So we wanted to speak to why post-November 2024 election, after really having some good conversation with the voter registrar and the clerk of circuit court, really, it's not advisable to make major changes ahead of such a major election. And we don't want to be blindsided and rushing and building out in a way that compromise our long-term success. So we want to be able to have the public do what they've known to do for the past several elections. We have our plans here for how we will conduct the presidential election in the current spaces, so that we can really be thoughtful about a long-term build out for long-term success. So just making sure we're not rushing, because all of those steps are things that are out of necessarily our hands, and we don't want to be sending out notices to the voters at the last moment when they're trying to cast their ballot. So we want to be really intentional about how we build this space out. So the funding, when we look at the purchase price, potential purchase price, we are proposing that the general fund debt service be the primary bill payer. And this money is simply available due to the timing of issuing debt. Since we're not going to go to the market until the spring, we'll have about $11.5 million left or available and the debt service to cover the purchase. And we're proposing that the remaining around $6 million come from the fund balance. That doesn't materially change your fund balance goal, your policy of 8 to 12%. Also, something else we want to put on your radar, there'll be a subsequent presentation coming to you all, but as we're looking at our ARPA funds and we're looking at partners and their ability to execute and spend the money before the federal deadline, we do anticipate there's going to be about $3 million from nonprofit grantees who they've done a great job spending large sums of their allocations, but they're not going to be able to expend all of it. And we believe we would be able to redirect some of that funding towards this effort. Ongoing costs for operating the building would be in the operating budget, just like any other building. Another route that if you want to talk about, I will tap Kevin, but if you are interested in PFRBs as a potential bill payer, that's something that we can have discussion about. But our primary recommendation is the general fund debt service and the general fund fund balance. So that takes us back to the ask and any questions or discussion that you all might want to have about the
Barbara,
topic.
And then Michael. And work.
Somewhere or other missed until you just said it today, the fact this is a part of a condo.
Tim can clarify, or Ashley from the attorney's office, one of those can.
Mr. Mayor, the attorney's office will come to speak on it.
Okay, great. Welcome.
Yes, so it is part of a corporate condo association at the moment.
What is the area that's the condo? What else is in the condo?
So there are 5 units in the condo. There's Virginia Natural Gas. There's a credit union. And then there's this property, and then there's a few smaller ones that are not a restaurant,
Go
but
to the map.
it might, what slide was that? If we could go to slide 22, is that a way to do that? Oh, thank you. So this is Virginia Natural Gas here. There's this is the property that we're discussing here. There's a credit union in this area, and then, credit union and like some smaller corporate storefront type shops. I think there's like an orthodontist or dental office there, and then this is the car.
Are there conditions to
Could
the
you go to the
condo that we
microphone,
need
please?
to know about?
Sorry about that. Yes, ma'am.
Are there conditions to the condo that we need to know about if we're going to be a part of a condo?
So there are, the only conditions that would be concerning at the moment would be just for the use. And that's not really a condo restriction. That's more of a deed restriction. And so when we spoke with the condo association, they're amenable to, at least at this point, they've expressed that they're amenable to allowing public office there. The other condo restrictions don't restrict our uses or what we would want to do with the property. But I can also send around just a bullet pointed.
Agreeing to.
Absolutely.
Condo is driven by the fact that it does not have road access on Holland Road. And so all owners in this park are condo owners because you have to have equal access to the road. I think that's what's driving the condo. It's not a restriction on the use.
Great, Michael.
Thank you. Well, I just want to, if I could, just note that a lot of work has gone into developing this plan and proposal. And those of us on the council are aware because we received a number of briefings during our closed sessions. And I just want to note and acknowledge the amount of work and research and contemplation that's been invested in identifying this site and developing the proposal. I think every citizen can agree that ensuring the integrity and safety of our election system and our elections is a fundamental and essential service that the city government provides, and the government provides, and that we've acknowledged the challenges to not only the operations of elections, but also the security and integrity of elections under the current conditions that exist. And so out of all of the different possible solutions, it appears to me that you all have worked very hard to identify this site and identify this plan to ensure the long-term success and safety and integrity of Virginia Beach elections. I would also note that this site located in District 3 near Mount Trashmore is near population centers. It's accessible to more people throughout the city for any number of reasons. Thank you for showing that map. That one might need to visit that department and that agency. It's more accessible. And I just want to express my support for moving forward with the plan as you've articulated. That's the ask here today, and I think as a body we should move forward.
Okay, Worth and then Amelia.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Ms. Chaparro, and everyone who's worked on this. And I agree with Councilman Berlucci. A lot of work has been done for this. It's not easy to find this type of property. And the $14.25 million is a lot of money, but this use and need rises to the same level almost as public safety and public education as protection of our election system. I have toured the property. I think the price is fair. It's not a steal, but it's very hard to find this, and to reproduce this property would be a lot more than what we could buy it for. So I do support it, and also controlling the land.
Okay, Amelia?
I also concur with Councilman Remick and Councilman Belushi about us going forward. I like the way you all worked through, and you all didn't just take the first offer. You went back and worked and came back to us, and we have the Councilman Remick, who is a commercial realtor, being able to go out there, as a second pair of eyes. Let's add to it. And I also am glad that you said we will not try to switch things 2024 election. That gives us time because I have been vice chair of the electoral board before, so I know the crunch of having to work in those limited spaces. So now we can compete with the other cities.
Okay, anyone else at this point? I think the nature of elections, the dynamics of elections have changed over time recently, especially you brought up the length of time now, 40 days prior to an election, and then the week after, and the potential of recounts. And then you got the general elections every year. You got national elections on the even years, you got state elections on, excuse me, the odd years. And that doesn't include primaries, and that doesn't include special elections and, things of that nature. And then, once again, I think, giving the public a sense of security and election integrity is really paramount, about why we're talking here. So at this point, does anybody object to moving forward with this solution? I think you're good to go.
Thank you all.
Okay. All right, anything else at this point? Okay, anything?
It's not me.
Okay, we're ready for, okay, at this point, we're going to have council comments, liaison reports first. Any? Okay, right.
Councilman Taylor and I attended the school.
Okay, hey, let's hold on one second. We'll give if you don't mind, glance to clear.
My 7th grade English teacher. And trust me, I'd like to say she's the reason I'm here, but
Don't tell anymore.
And that's called plausible deniability, Hutch. Rosemary, please. Thank you.
Councilman Taylor and I attended the school modernization committee meeting last week, and the TPEA was discussed. I don't think there's been a formal decision to cancel it, but I think it's very close to canceling it because the price came in at 659 million for all three schools, and I think they've come to the realization that it's just not affordable. It's not affordable, and I think there's going to be a decision point that they're going to be making of whether it's going to be going forward with Princess Anne High School or Betty F. Williams. They're going to be making a choice. My opinion is a school board decision. That's what they're elected to do, to evaluate the needs of the school division and their students and their facilities and that sort of thing. So it was a good meeting, and it's unfortunate, in my opinion, that all this time has been wasted. 18 months when inflation and prices continue to go up and up and up, and we've reached this point, but it is what it is. But I applaud their superintendent and the board for headed to a good fiduciary, responsible decision of narrowing it down to realizing that in the realm of affordability, probably only one school's affordable at this time. So I think I personally was disappointed too, that when you think about how hard we as a council worked on that resolution that we passed, and we were asking for scalable options because we knew that, you know, maybe we didn't want a square box, but maybe we didn't want big atriums, you know, maybe something in the middle. We really never received scalable options either. So some of what we as a council asked for in that resolution really wasn't provided for. Mr. Duhaney was there, and they have a building utilization committee that looks at all of their buildings, and if we all know they have declining population. And is there going to come a time where they should be merging buildings and that sort of thing? And Mr. Duhaney asked for someone from the city to be part of that committee, and they thought that was a good idea. I think so too. But it really was a very good meeting. And Chris, would you like to add something to that?
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I don't have a lot of comments because I want to be respectful of the school board, but I think we knew going in there wasn't really a willingness within our body to do due diligence, to understand going in what we knew. And there was no way to fund these schools. And I heard amongst us many times that deferring it was kicking the can down the road. And my question that I haven't got an answer for is, what did we get for the $15 million? That could have went to teacher pay. Could have went to, if you divide the 15 million by 20 or 30 schools, each school could have got 340,000. I've said before, my wife's on the PTA. Some schools don't have projection screens, systems, audio. And some of us are on the record saying this was not the best idea, and we kept hearing it's for the teachers, it's for the kids, but we paid $15 million. Undefinable deliverables, 30% design of 50% larger schools. We threw out numbers, Mayor Dyer, and there wasn't a willingness to accept the facts. And the facts were facts. So we're out $15.4 million. And we keep saying we're in a crunch, we're running out of money, needs. It didn't help students, it didn't help teachers. And what we're left with is 30% designs of schools that we can't build. So I just hope that going forward, we'll lean on the liaisons. We'll continue to look at data and facts, because it was born out of the discussion, Vice Mayor. that there's very little collaboration going on, very little communication with our peers. This is $15.4 million real dollars, and not one of those schools has an increasing enrollment. So my hope is, listening to Councilwoman Henley, that we'll possibly start from scratch. These unsolicited proposals that come in, I don't know how much sense they make. Mr. Ballard built a school in Henrico for $83 million just a couple years ago. You watch 60 Minutes on Sunday, inflation's not continuing to rise in every part of the economy. So it's okay to focus on teachers and education, but we also should focus on the facts and the data. And we knew going in, the school board knew going in, there was no funding mechanism without raising taxes. So this exercise has been a waste of time, waste of taxpayer dollars, and it did not benefit one single teacher or any students. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
And Mr. Taylor, I certainly respect your observations. One way or the other, as we talk about 87 schools that eventually over time that are going to require modernization or replacement. That's an inevitability. If not now, we're going to have to confront that in the near future. And, one of the things is that I will concur about that we have to have a better collaboration, with our school board. I had a meaningful conversation with Kim Melnick, the new school board chair. And I think as we go through budgets and things, we need, to sit down together, very similar to what we do at the 5-year forecast. And they get to understand us, we get to understand them. And the thing is, the way our system of government is, we are two distinct bodies. But once again, they are dependent on us, for funding. And, but once again, I think, just whether we go forward with collaboration, not only with our school board, but with our elected delegation and everything, as we confront the tough economic times. I think the understanding is going to be paramount going forward. So I recommend that even during our upcoming budget deliberations, if we could get together and find out what the real things are. And, certainly, teacher pay and, even with school bus drivers and things, what they need to operate. But once again, our budget is going to reflect their budget and their ability to be, and we're going to have a very tough go around with this upcoming budget. And I think effective communication would at least help some bridges of understanding about what the real priorities are. Okay, anybody else? Any other liaison reports? Okay, we'll go with Worth and then we'll go with Barbara.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm passing around a draft ordinance. The Advertising Advisory Committee, Council Member Ross Hammond and myself are liaisons, co-liaisons to the Advertising Advisory Committee. That ordinance needs to be updated, revamped to modern times. And thanks to the city manager, Nancy Hellman, and some others in the city attorney's office, we've come up with some updated language and solutions to this committee. It's an important committee. It's funded through tourist dollars. So please take a look at it. We'd like to bring it forward in about the next voting session. Some of the changes that we made is the current chair of the committee is the head of CVB, Nancy Hellman. We've made that as an option because someone in the private sector or a citizen could be the chair instead of Mrs. Hellman. We'll see how that goes forward, but there's an option there. We've also reconstituted the membership to make it more applicable to today versus, I think this is the last change in 2009 or so. So it's nothing really earth-shattering, but please take a look at it. I do need another sponsor or two, because right now there's two in front of you, Councilmember Ross Hammond and myself.
I'm happy to be a sponsor.
Okay, Barbara?
It's the next item, discussion initiative comments instead of the liaison.
Okay, we finished. Oh, Jennifer, please.
I have a liaison and then also discussion. So this is related to Active Transportation Advisory Committee. I'm going to read the note directly so I don't miss anything. So tomorrow, Wednesday, February 7th, is Virginia School Crossing Guard Appreciation Day. VDOT created this event 10 years ago to honor our crossing guards who stand outside in the rain and in the sunshine to help our kids get safely across the street to school. So when you are stopped dropping the kids off tomorrow at school, make sure you give an extra light honk or a wave to the crossing guard. And this is the first year that the city of Virginia Beach is participating in this recognition. So some of the crossing guards will be recognized at the school board. There's a ceremony next Tuesday night. So just want to shout out those folks who keep our kids safe and keep the traffic flowing when we're recognizing them tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, thank you,
Okay,
Mayor.
we'll go into comments now.
So actually, I don't really know. I guess I'm going to maybe direct this to the city manager. So the public may or may not be aware that we have each council member, part of our work with the bodies and with these boards and commissions, to appoint members from various districts. And what I'm running into is I'm going to call the time of the boards and commissions prohibitive, because I have a district where folks are working, and meetings at Mondays at 3 and Fridays at 3 are very challenging to get participants. What I don't lack are willing participants, but what I am running into, it's barriers to entry, which is people are working or dealing with things and they can't show up. So I don't know why our meetings are that time. And that's a challenge. And if we could revisit the time that the boards and commissions meet to try to open it up to more people, I would love to see that happen.
You know, I think that, you know, it has merit, and I think, you know, we have an upcoming retreat that we're going to kind of focus on budgetary matters, but I think it could be another collateral thing, you know, that we can hash out, Jennifer.
It's a good point, because people need to make a living.
Okay. Oh, Barbara, you had something. Okay.
Yes, two items. The last information I had is that the clearing for the coastal Virginia offshore wind onshore part will begin tomorrow. They have to do all of their tree clearing and so forth before April 15th, so they'll be going pretty hot and heavy for the next several weeks, but you might start hearing about that tomorrow. I think it's important that we let the people in these areas know that we do have a little over $1 million for mitigation of the tree loss. And I know that our folks are working on how we can do that. I just have to keep saying that if we're mitigating something, we're trying to lessen the harshness of the action. And so the mitigation needs to occur in the area where the action occurs. And I would hope it would be particularly within the same watershed. And I hope that this would be an opportunity for us to use that data that we gathered with our partnership with Virginia Tech when we studied the value of trees for flood prevention, particularly with the aspect of evapotranspiration. We've got the data, and I think it's important that we use it. And I think this is an opportunity. But I did want you to be aware that that clearing is going to be starting, I think, tomorrow. I tried to get confirmation that it would be tomorrow, but any day now. So you will be hearing about that, I think. The other thing, we had something in our packet from the city manager about the community organization grant process and asking us to give some direction, particularly for these grants that came into the budget at the last minute last year. I think that it was made clear that these were one-time only grants. It was one-time only money, and these were one-time only grants, but I think we were also supposed to let all of these organizations know that if they wanted to continue to get the grants, they needed to apply through the community organization grant process. And I think that they are doing it twice a year now instead of once. And so I think it would be a good time for us to, particularly before we go into this budget cycle, if we could get an update from the COG committee about what they have awarded this year. I think in last year's budget, we increased the amount. So they've got a pretty sizable amount now, but I would like to, I know they send us a report, but I would be interested in seeing a report for the 22-23 year, which was completed, and what they have done so far with the 23-24, and how they're allocating these funds. I think it's important for us to see, what they're doing. But I think also for these people that did get that money last year, they need to know that they need to apply for grant money if they want to continue, because I think it's important that everybody go through the same evaluation and the same responsible reporting of how they spend the money. So that would be my response to what you sent to us. And I think, as the mayor just said, this is going to be a tough budget year. And we know everybody has got the same problems with increased cost and so forth. And so we're going to be hearing from all of these people that they need more money. And I think we need to be kind of prepared for how we're going to address this and before the budget gets here.
And Rosemary has her.
I just want to say something about COG. They actually met this morning.
Oh, wonderful.
And I attended via Zoom. And so today they went over the second round of applications, decide who they're going to interview in a few weeks. But one of the things that they asked of me was, well, why did we decide to have 2 rounds? And they're really not very happy about having 2 rounds.
We didn't decide that. They did, didn't they?
No,
I thought they told us they were going to have 2 rounds.
They do not like having 2 rounds.
Okay, well,
So
I think they did.
I suggested that they write a letter to let us know that they don't want to have 2 rounds. And I'm just sharing, this is
Okay.
what they don't like having 2 rounds. So I suggested they write us a letter and tell us. But anyway, they're in the process of having the second round.
I think it's important that we do get feedback from them and they get feedback from us, so we're on the same wavelength.
But they do a really good job of looking at each one and how much they're asking for, what they've done in the past, what their current budget is, how many people it affects. I mean, we can't look at things at their level. And there's some good financial people in there. It's really impressive at the depth of how they go into it.
I know it's been working for several years and working very well. And I think we should be very appreciative of what they're doing, because they're doing a tough job for us.
They spend a lot of time on it.
I think it's important that we all know just what that is that they're doing. So send our appreciation to them and just hope we can support them.
Great. Michael, and then Chris, and then Amelia.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I guess I just have a question regarding a letter we received on January 31st from the Virginia Beach Police Foundation about the condition of the memorial. And please forgive me if this has already been addressed by the council, but
Not yet.
But it
I was
hasn't.
gonna bring it up.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Well, then I'll defer to you.
Oh, no, Michael, you go right ahead.
Well, as you can clearly see in the letter, the memorial that we all visit and many tourists and residents pass by and enjoy appears to be in a state of disrepair, and the city is responsible for maintaining the memorial. And so they sent a rather urgent request to us that we move forward with the necessary repairs. And I just wanted to ask the manager if he has had a chance to review the letter, and also just as a body that we could maybe arrive at some consensus to move forward. It looks like they're asking for $12,000 with a contingency of an additional $12,000 if the panel is broken during repair. And I think because of the importance of this memorial, as well as its location and as well as the law enforcement memorial event that's coming up in May, that it's really important that we move at a rapid pace to get that repair complete.
Yeah, Patrick.
So, Mayor, members of council, when we received some information from a couple members of council, and when we looked into it, the city isn't responsible for capital repairs or capital maintenance. We're responsible for washing and cleaning of it, and where I think the granite panel is coming off, that's a capital repair thing that we don't have any authorization to actually do. And the actual, I think, approved documents that was approved by council actually literally says our scope is just cleaning and maintaining it and not to do the capital maintenance. So we would need some kind of authorization from council to provide the level of support that they need to address what they need right now.
And Mr. Dehaney, that's addressed in the letter, so I think I apologize for misrepresenting that. It was my mistake, but it appears that the memorial did become city property. And so while the MOU is stated that the foundation is responsible for enhanced maintenance and capital maintenance, repairs and expenditures, it is city property, and there, at least Mr. Jaycox in this letter is asserting that that wasn't the original intent. So hard to determine that. I'm not in a position to determine that, but either way, I think that my view is that the residents and the citizens would like us to move forward to get this fixed.
And if I can make a recommendation, I'd like to at least bring forward, an ordinance, addressing this. Let me put it this way. I think, Barbara hit on it. A lot of places are having extreme difficulty getting funding, for a lot of things. And I think, a concern I have, quite frankly, is a little bit of the optics. This thing is right on the ocean front, and where the panel is sliding down is visible from the boardwalk. And, these are one of those things that, as a deliberative body, things pop up. We talk about it and try to find some solutions. And, I don't think this is really setting a precedent. But, I think Michael, really hit on it. We have a very touching ceremony coming up in May. So if we could address it. So does anybody, of mind if we at least bring forward an ordinance for consideration? Amelia.
Yeah, I concur with Lucia on this. The first time I went and to watch that police, and when they come around with the horses and those who have passed with those boots turned the other way, I mean, there wasn't a dry eye, and people who were visiting were watching that. So, this is important, and we need to step up to the plate and preserve and repair that.
So, Mayor, I'm taking that you want my staff and the attorney's office to put together a draft ordinance.
Get to the next voting session for discussion, input, and a vote. Yeah. Okay. Chris, you had something.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure if it was, I think it was the previous package, we received a memo from the city manager asking about our position on these festivals. We've had another 2 requests come forward. We have not defined a process outside of get to 6 votes. We have ECSC, they're requesting $500,000 outside of this process. We have the Caribbean Fest with $200,000. Councilmember Wooten worked with some individuals in the community who sent forth a proposal for the summer, Virginia Beach Summer Concert Series. That was, I haven't seen any responses, $100,000. And I hear 2 others are coming, so that's almost $1 million. And again, so the public's not surprised it doesn't happen in reconciliation. I'm just hope we can figure out, are these going to be done in the public purview? Or are we going to wait to put them in the budget? Because ECSC is coming, Caribbean Fest is coming, Virginia Beach Concert Series would like to come, and they all seem to be providing a niche, a void, and we don't have a process right now. And so when I get the calls like that I continue to get, I don't know where to direct them. They should just email the entire body. They should lobby each of us to see if we can get to 6. Then you have to look at the funding source. Are we just gonna use the tip? And so I don't think it's fair for some of the newer festivals that may not have those relationships, because I have to believe that ECSC will get what they're asking for. I'm not sure Caribbean Fest will get what they're asking for, and I hadn't seen any responses from the Virginia Beach Concert Series outside of Councilmember Henley. And so the line is going to continue to get long.
If I could respond, I think it's a valid point. I think a number of us have the frustrations. I think an important thing, what we're going to be focusing on in the retreat next week is to, discuss these things on, what you're, I think the essence of what you're saying is setting priorities and where does it fit within the, the priority thing that goes on. And don't, when is what is the status of the task force on these, on events and everything?
I don't know, it's task force under Patrick.
So,
First meeting is next Thursday.
Okay.
so we shared a memo to council about the next steps on the task force, and we appointed a facilitator, and the facilitator is going to meet with the task force to set the priorities. What we said to council in a memo where we updated on the task force is that we received these, and what we're saying to these requesters is that, hey, council's authorized a task force to look at this, and also we're working on an RFP process for 2025. So we're telling folks that until council makes a policy decision on where it wants to go after the task force, that we won't take these up and bring these for council to consideration. And also, if they want to, they can participate in the 2025 RFP process.
And I think it's important going forward that, because as we're talking about the impacts of budgets, not only this year, but, going forward, my goodness, there's going to be a tremendous amount of ask going on. And I actually deferred a couple meetings with people who wanted to meet with me about, being included and everything. I said, look, we're going to get a task force going. We're going to get it. Let's put it into mix. Let's maybe do it the way we do COGS, in terms of what's going around, in terms of how much and everything. Let's have an outside set of eyes take a look at things and, help to kind of determine what, what's going forward. Amelia.
Yeah, I did have a question related to those 3 or 4 that you mentioned. And you said for the 90-day festival, does that impact them doing something this summer or 2025? In other words, some of these sound like they're coming up a couple of months.
They are.
And so
Dr. Ross Hammond, some of those wants to do them this year.
that's what
Yep. So what we've been saying to them is that since council's convened this task force, we're going to go through the task force and get what the task force recommendations are. Then council's going to let us know where you want us to land ultimately. And then we've offered to them for 2025, there's an RFP process. If council wants us to do differently, and if you want us to bring these to you all, we show them to you all so you can have an idea of what we're getting. But if you want to consider them, just tell us and we'll get there.
If I can make a suggestion, and we'll get to Sabrina, that, if they have the task force convene and see what they can, come up with on an expedited basis and then bring them to us. Okay, Sabrina?
I didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's just when you were talking about that, just for clarification, so people won't think right after the 90 days, you're looking at March or April, they're ready to do something June. What I wanted to bring, as you were saying, different situations. As you know, we're in Black History Month, and recently, as the commissioner on the HRT, we did Rosa Parks Equity Day. Her birthday was February 4th. So yesterday we were in Hampton, and they had a really lovely ceremony. And what they did for the day after, each one of the buses had the front row seat empty to represent her. And that she stopped this area and stayed in Hampton, even though she was a seamstress, she worked at a hotel for a little while, for a year. So it was one thing that was important, having a day like that. But another thing that was brought up by Vice Mayor, I'm trying to think of his name right off, Jimmy Gray. They did something, and I just want to throw it out to you all. Yesterday or Monday, what they did was bring some of the high school students, and they rode the bus to get to the Pembroke station. But what he did with his council members is find a day that all council members rode the bus. Like now we have the Max Express. Maybe we can all get, whether it's a Saturday or whatever is convenient, to actually go on one of those rides so we get a feel. Because we are a city compared to some of these other cities. They use the bus, well, most of us have our cars. But this is important for us to realize we have that whole group of the affordable housing and the workforce housing people that are using this. So just a thought, that maybe one day doing something like that and giving every council member, a little experience of taking the bus, leaving our cars here, taking the bus, the Max Express, maybe to the oceanfront in Black. But, something like that, I think would be a good opportunity.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Thank you. Sabrina?
Thank you. As it relates to, I have a couple comments as it relates to the information brought up about festivals. I think it is important to think about how, I know that we've had some requests for some larger festivals that were allowed to be considered and voted on. And so I also want to make sure that when we're considering the smaller festivals, the newer festivals, that we're also making sure that we are applying the same rules. And so the larger festivals certainly were heard, certainly voted on. And so I think we need to also consider those new festivals that come up and that are requesting funding as well. If you don't, then I think you should not, or as a body, we should not be entertaining the larger festivals without further guidance from the task force. I think we need to be fair in our procedures and processes and as it relates to that matter. In terms of a couple of the requests that have come forward, I know the Virginia Swim event was put on last year with their own funds. So there were no funds provided from the council, even though there probably was a request. They used their own funds. The carnival event, same method. They used their own funds. So at this point, knowing that they use their own funds, and perhaps this year it is difficult for them to provide the same level of funding that they did last year, I would say it is good that they did take the initiative to use their own funds and to provide funding for those events. And so perhaps this year they're coming to the body showing you that, hey, we did provide our own funds, but now we need some additional assistance. So just a little clarity on those new requests for funding coming to us. Thank you.
Okay, very well said. And the other thing is too, I think it's going to be important, what I try to tell people when they come to me with asks, they had the one group that at Lansdowne that did something, and the gentleman did spend $10,000 himself last year. He asked this year. And what I'm trying to, I tell people, definitely apply and go into the mix. And, and I agree with Sabrina that, sometimes even the $10,000 ask could be as important as the 100,000 plus ask also, because they contribute to the community in a very large way. But the other thing, I encourage them to see if they can also, help themselves by going out and try to get some sponsorships. I think there's a lot of folks out there that would be willing to, to help out if possible. So, this way you might be able to get more, higher volume of even, we'll call them the micro events that are very, very important to certain community members. So I think that's.
Last thing, we had the economic development, the whole small business event around different things coming up, including the process for people to get swim certified. We had some people speak about something in the water. I was shocked how many people came out last week. It was in the auditorium in the library. They had 440 sign up from all over. And they had a special speaker in, and they had Robbie Wells. And they went and pointed out that two of us were something in the water liaisons. So talk to them. I don't ever want to be a star, because we had to quickly find our way out, because they all came down. There's so many people with different ideas. But one thing they mentioned was it's so important that they become swim certified and go through the process. And if they are serious, things can happen, which is something like what we're doing for our festival task force now. They have to go through that process. But it was a good turnout.
Okay.
economic development, put that on
Great.
small businesses.
Good. Okay, anybody else? Okay, I got a couple things. I think a good point of pride for our city is that ODU recently did the 14th annual, quality of life in Virginia, in Hampton Roads. And, the results of the report were very favorable in many aspects about Virginia Beach as compared to our sister cities. And Mr. Dehaney, you think it would be possible to get copies of that report and get them in the Friday package? I think it's important that, we realize, and I think it's a tribute, to us as a city, to management and the way we do things, and they had a lot of stuff about the perceptions about police interactions and, things of that nature. So, I think that's a thing. And just one other ask. One of the things that we really enjoy doing is really recognizing our community heroes. And, once again, we welcome, for proclamations, to come. And I'm delighted that so many people want to represent various groups where, Sabrina is going to be recognizing, some folks today. But, bring them forward. But the thing is, it would be helpful that to give really good information, or maybe if you can get a subject matter expert on a certain thing to really help to make sure that the proclamation is, really reflective of the efforts of what's going on. That would be helpful. But by all means, keep the requests coming in. I think this is a very important part of what we do as we start a meeting every week, is recognizing, all of the heroes that live in Virginia Beach that make it such a great city. Okay, thank you. Rosemary, at this point, are going to do.
Okay, so we have one speaker on number 1 under ordinances. So we don't need to pull it. So under ordinances and resolutions, you want to have any issues with anything?
I'm going to vote against the freebie.
I am too.
Freebie?
Yeah, the freebie.
For number 4?
Yeah, you can either pull it or add me as a no.
Okay, Worth.
Can I speak briefly about number 4? I think some more information is needed for the body to understand the request here, and I would say maybe let's consider deferring it, but Mr. City Manager, you want to speak to it, or?
So just to clarify, this isn't a new contract for Freebie. This is to continue what council approved last May.
Okay.
For the contract that expires June of this year, right? The funds didn't carry forward into the current budget. So Parking Enterprise has been paying for it out of their operating budget. And if they don't get this addressed, they're gonna fail funds and not be able to finish out the year. Is that correct?
Exactly.
So this isn't a new extension of the agreement. This is just to finalize what council approved in the last year's budget that wasn't carried forward into the fiscal year 23-24. No decision has been made yet on the future of Freebie, right? So like they've made an ask, obviously, of us as part of consideration in the budget process, but this decision today does not tie the council to a future continuation of Freebie. This is just to get through the end of the year for June 30th of this year.
What does it cost per year?
What council approved last year was $1.2 million, and this is for that $1.2 million for this year that the contract expires at the end of June this year.
At what point do we need to decide for the next year?
You probably decide as part of the budget process.
Okay.
So we'll probably make a recommendation to you all. I'm not sure what our recommendation yet is going to be, but as we mentioned before, when council approved it, that was the last year that the pilot could be done out of the Parking Enterprise Fund because it came out of Parking Enterprise Fund balance. And the Parking Enterprise Fund balance couldn't support it for another year. The next item would be consideration for the general fund and or TIP, looking at the needs of the TIP and the future debt projections that's going to hit that. We're not sure, staff, if we're going to be able to recommend that to you all for consideration.
Okay, can we go with Chris? Okay, how about work if I can get work and then Michael?
Yeah, point of clarification. So the vote tonight is not to spend an additional or new $1.2 million. It's to do what?
In essence, it's to give Parking Enterprise operations the funds that you already authorized last year that they've been carrying out through their operations that they didn't carry forward into this year's budget.
Okay, let me just ask before we get to Michael, would it be worth it to pull it and have that explanation outside?
What are you satisfied with this explanation, or do you want more information?
Well, you just,
Okay, Michael, please, you chime in right now.
Well, I guess I need more information, and the question I have is the city contractually obligated up until the end of June?
Yes.
We are.
Yeah, so council authorized, contract has been executed from July 1 of last year to June 30th of this year.
Okay.
And then there's no other obligation for beyond June 30th of this year. And we haven't made a decision yet on what we're recommending to you all, but based on what I mentioned to you all before, I don't know if we're gonna get there.
Right.
Okay, Barbara?
well, the way I read it, it seemed like it was an accounting issue where it just didn't get done like it was supposed to. So it was-
Okay.
Correct.
Worth, do you recommend it be on consent?
Yes, I'm not the only decision maker here, but yes.
No, but I'm just saying, you're kind of you're intimate with the thing.
Literally, it's an accounting error. So May 16th last year, you appropriated $1.2 million for this to be done for July 1 of last year to June 30th. Because of how the fiscal year closed, the funds weren't carried forward in the carry forward ordinance that you all approved in like August or September to bring this money over. So parking operations has been paying for it out of their operating budget. And if we don't get the funds back to them, they're gonna fail funds, and council's gonna have to give funds to them, or we're gonna have to let go of the operations and the staff and the other programs.
This one, I think we could just leave it on consent.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amelia?
For consent too.
Okay.
So, when we discussed this last time, I had a lot of misgivings about it. I mean, I live down there, I see it, and especially in the wintertime. I supported the pilot at the beginning because I saw it as a clean up the parking issues. And especially in the wintertime, we don't have any parking issues. And so just know going forward, I don't know what your recommendation is going to be, but going forward, I don't support it.
I think we got another retreat item.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I heard it as well, and as council, I remember last year, the initial ask was more than the 1.2. Then council reduced it down from 10 to something else, 5 at the slow periods and 10 during the peak periods, and that was just the last year of the pilot. And then the conversation was, where do we pay for it next? And now that it's gonna hit general fund or likely tip. It's a different consideration, and I've heard everybody's concerns about it. I'll share your concerns as well, council.
Okay, great. Okay.
So we leave it on consent?
Yeah, we'll leave it on consent.
All right. So everything's on consent for ordinances. And how about planning?
That's for deferral. Right?
Deferral March 5th.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be the last deferral.
Oh,
Yeah, we were briefed on that.
oh,
That was
Ruffin's
the
gonna
first
be till March 5th?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's it. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to recess into a closed session pursuant to the exemptions meeting allowed by sections 2.2, 3711A Code of Virginia as amended for the following purposes. Publicly held property. Discussions or consideration of the acquisition of real property for public purpose or disposition of publicly held property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiation strategy of the public body pursuant to section 2.2, 3711A3. District 2. Public contract. Discussion of the award of public contract involving the expenditure of public funds and discussions of the terms of the scope of such contract, and discussions in an open session would adversely affect the bargaining position of the public body pursuant to section 2.2, 3711A 29 Atlantic Park, and then personnel matters, discussions, considerations, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation for the specific officers, appointees, or employees of the public body pursuant to section 2.2, 3711A1 And that's council appointments, boards, commissions, committees, authorities, agencies, and appointees. Do I have a motion?
Second. I just decided.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Aye.
Councilmember Henley.
Aye.
I decided this we can do.
Councilmember Remick. Councilmember Ross Hammond.
Aye.
Councilmember Rouse. Councilmember Schulman.
Aye.
Councilmember Taylor. Councilmember Bluey.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wilson.
Just to send me a note about it.
Aye. Okay, folks, we're researching to executive. Let's go get.